The name is Crew. Crazy Crew. Hello everyone, welcome to the Crazy Crew Vlogs, and if you didn't tell by that little hint there, the latest movie that we saw is Skyfall.
We're a little late to the party on this one simply because we've been so busy because we had our friend over about a week ago, and then our work schedules. It's been really busy because it's Thanksgiving. So we finally got around to seeing Skyfall. I mean, you kind of cheated because you saw it already.
Yeah, I saw it twice, but hey, my uncle is a big James Bond fan, and he wanted to see it, and so did my dad, so I figured, what the hell. And to be fair, I've only seen one other James Bond film, so it's not like I went into this.
And not the good one either.
Yeah, I saw the worst one in the franchise, Die Another Day. It was
To be fair, though, there are worse Bond films than Die Another Day. Much worse Bond films.
I'll bet. I mean, like I said, that's the first one I started with, and I was not impressed at all. And so I had no desire to see another Bond film. And like I said, the only reason I saw this one's because my dad was willing to pay. So I figured, why the heck not? So yeah, I got to see it twice, and I gotta say it's a lot better than Die Another Day.
Oh yes. Definitely a lot better than Die Another Day. I think out of the 3 Daniel Craig Bond movies, this is probably the best one of the 3. Because I saw Casino. I've seen most of the Bond movies. I've seen all the Sean Connery. I've seen like half of the Roger Moore stuff. I haven't seen anything Timothy Dalton. I did see John Lazenby in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And I've seen all the Bond films from GoldenEye to now, all of them in order. Okay. So I've seen quite a lot of Bond movies, and I mean, a lot of the critics, the consensus seems to be that this one is like one of the best Bond movies ever. And I would actually have to kind of agree. I wouldn't say, in my opinion, it's the best. I mean, I have my own personal favorite. My personal favorite is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, but that's just me. But Skyfall is really up there. I mean, really up there with like GoldenEye and a bunch of others. And so yeah, this was really good. This was Daniel Craig at his best with Bond, because he really got the character down. Because like Casino Royale, he was new, and the writers were trying to go a little bit more serious. Casino Royale kind of reminded me of Dr. No, where like it was a little bit more slow paced. With Daniel Craig, as it moved on, like when they got to Quantum of Solace, they started throwing in more stuff. There was a lot more action sequences. There was a lot more character development. Like, and that's the one thing that got me really with Skyfall, was how much character development there was with James Bond. Because with James Bond, there's really not a lot of character development with Bond.
There really isn't. I mean, I really can't say for certain, since I haven't seen any of the Bond films except for those 2. But my overall view of James Bond was just, he was just, the suave secret agent that all the ladies wanted and all the men wanted to be. And really, he didn't seem like he would be the type of person you would give a background to and you would actually believe it or anything. He was more like an icon, like Indiana Jones was or something. But what they did for him, though, in this, really impressed me. Because, they actually made him a sympathetic character.
I know, which is something that's, I mean, in the James Bond movies, I can only think of a few other instances where James Bond becomes more a sympathetic character. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one example, because John Lazenby comes off as more human. And that's the one thing I kind of liked with Daniel Craig, is that he kind of passed off a little bit more human. I mean, the sympathy is a little bit higher, a little bit more in this, because you get to see him. You see Daniel Craig. He gets in the opening sequence. After that big, over the top chase scene, something we haven't seen in a Bond movie in a while. It's probably since Die Another Day, but after that, in the beginning of the movie, he gets shot. He got shot twice, but when he gets shot and gets knocked off the train into the river, over the waterfall, and somehow survives.
Oh my god, that was that almost put me off the movie, like, from the start, because, first of all, the movie starts off immediately going into a mission. Like, there's no setup or anything.
Well, a lot of Bond movies start that way. A lot of Bond start off with a mission, and a lot of the times, the mission doesn't correlate with what goes on with the rest of the movie. But the last couple Bond movies, the exception of Casino Royale, the last two, with Quantum of Solace and Skyfall, is that the opening setup, the opening action, mission, whatever you want to call it, does tie in with the movie. I mean, the only other Bond movie that I could think of where it does tie in with the opening would be You Only Live Twice. Okay. Which is funny because that's another time where Bond supposedly dies in the beginning. So I thought about it after seeing Skyfall. I'm like, wait, this isn't the first time where Bond supposedly dies. So I guess with Bond, instead of You Only Live Twice, it's You Only Live Thrice. But that's that's just me.
Well, was the death there more believable, or was there like the hint that he must have survived because of so and so, or he just appears out of nowhere like fit as a fiddle and there's no explanation?
I think with the case You Only Live Twice, I think they do explain how he survived in You Only Live Twice. I'm pretty sure they explain it, like it's kind of a setup on that he faking his death. Then again, Bond has faked his death a couple of times. Mm-hmm. But with Casino Royale, with Skyfall, excuse me. With Skyfall, they don't. I thought about it. I'm like, they sort of explain it because they say he gets shot in the shoulder, and which is like nowhere near the heart area, which makes sense. But that doesn't explain the fact that he falls off. He falls off a train, into the river, over a waterfall, and somehow he ends up on this tropical island somewhere, and he's banging this one chick, and he's getting drunk while with a scorpion on this.
I know that
you have to see it to believe it. It's like it goes from like one thing, and then he's just fine now, but he still has the scar. But even with
I don't understand that. Like I said, that almost pulled me off the movie because I'm like, okay, I can understand if I don't know. He let's say for instance he did survive getting shot twice, in both shoulders, and somehow missed vital arteries. And let's say he did survive that 100-foot drop straight into the water. Mm-hmm. And let's even say maybe he survived that other 100-foot drop down the waterfall. They don't show anybody saving him or bringing him out of the water or anything. If anything, they show that he drowned, and it leads off into the movie, the song of the movie. You see a giant hand is dragging him underwater, indicating that okay, so Bond's dead in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie.
But I call bullshit on that because first off, it's the beginning of the movie. It would be a very short film. It doesn't make any sense.
I know, and then
they have to explain how he survived, but.
They never do. As soon as the next time you see him, like you said, he's banging this chick, and he's all perfectly fine. He just has a scar right here and here, and it's I really don't think you could survive getting sniped like that, or at least come off with a worse looking wound than what that he had. That just boggles my mind. It's really, you're just gonna say that he's Bond, he could survive anything. Why don't you just fucking call him Batman while you're at it? I can imagine that too. It's how did you survive that?
Because I'm Bond.
I mean Batman.
Because I'm Batman. I mean, I'm Bond. James Bond.
Yeah, but after that, it gets a little bit more normal. So.
But getting back to what I meant, even after that whole action sequence thing, but getting back to what I was saying with James Bond being a little bit more sympathetic character, we see him. The reason why he's a little more sympathetic in here than, as I mentioned, with You Only Live Twice, with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, is because you physically see him struggling. After the opening mission, that pretty much sets up his character of him trying to get back into his groove, trying to get back to where he was, because then all of a sudden he sees Wolf Blitzer on CNN, and that's a whole other topic that I could talk about. But he sees that and he knows that he has to get back because there was a bombing at MI6. So he goes back and he gets himself re-enlisted, even though he didn't pass the tests. And he spends the rest of the time, trying to get through. Like when he's in was he in Tokyo? No, was he in what was it, Singapore or? Was it Shanghai?
Yeah, it was Shanghai.
Oh, Shanghai. When he was in Shanghai, and he's going after this guy, and he's going after this assassin guy. Like you see him struggling, trying to keep he was hanging on to the elevator. Now, any other Bond movie, he's hanging on there, perfectly fine, like just hanging in there stealthily. But he was starting. Yeah. You actually saw him starting to slip off, at one point, he has to move his arm because his arms were getting tired, and at one point he actually drops the guy he was trying to interrogate.
Plus, I imagine all the shrapnel that he didn't get out of his shoulders were probably still piercing him while he was constricting his muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the whole point of this movie was to show that basically Bond is getting old. Because the guy's been around for 50 years, and true, he's changed faces, much younger faces as time went on. But
he's a Time Lord. I'm saying this right now. He's a Time Lord. That's the only way they could explain it. He's a lost Time Lord that's kept secret by British intelligence, and that MI6 kept him under, and the Doctor hasn't found out about it yet. It's under lock and key. It's it's even more kept under lock and key than Torchwood. Forget the whole, but anyway.
But yeah, it's that's pretty much the big thing. Not only are they still show Bond, being Bond, having his moments of awesomeness and stuff, but they show that, he's still getting on in years. They keep updating him, changing his age and stuff, but you can see that he's, starting to get a little worn out. He still clings to, the old ways of doing things, but at the same time reluctantly accepts new things, though you do see he has a bit of a problem with adjusting.
Good example of that was when he meets the new Q.
Oh my God, the new Q.
Yes, when he meets the new.
I'm sorry, I have to gush. The new Q is so damn cute. Oh my God.
I will say it's a change of pace from the previous Qs. Any Bond fan will probably say they like Desmond Llewellyn as Q, as their Q, because he's been around since he was Q from Russia with Love up to The World Is Not Enough. Mm-hmm. And shortly after the release of The World Is Not Enough, he passed away, unfortunately, and he was Q through all those movies. And with that Q, he was quirky. He was the one. He's please take care of this double stuff. They always had those little comedy quirks with Bond. John Cleese, even though he was Q for Die Another Day, I didn't see much of it because it was John Cleese being John Cleese.
That's the only Q I've been exposed to, unfortunately, was John Cleese, and he really didn't leave any impression on me other than this is the science guy who gives the gadgets.
Yes.